They have no accountability to any nation state. We used to have this idea, the facade of the American company, you know, Ford and GM, and these are not true anymore. These are just illusions. The nation-state-based corporation does not exist. It does not exist. What we have instead are multinational corporations that are able to pit nation-states against each other in what is essentially called the race to the bottom. So what country is going to be able to offer them the best deal, the lowest environmental regulations, the lowest labor regulations, the lowest taxes, the lowest tariffs? Which country is going to be able to do that? So you have countries all over the world that are racing to the bottom to be able to attract industry in order to improve their economies. Now what's interesting is that often what you'll hear in the immigration debate and the immigration conversation is you'll hear people that'll say, well, their government should take care of them. Why doesn't their own country take care of them? Now what's interesting about that is that NAFTA, for example, has completely undercut the ability of a nation state to defend its own people. There is a provision in NAFTA called Chapter 11. And basically what Chapter 11 says is that no nation state can infringe on the profit margin of a corporation under agreement with NAFTA. And if they do so, that corporation can hold that nation state accountable. And an example is that there was a Canadian corporation that was exporting gas into California, the state of California. And it was discovered that that gas had an additive in it, methane, that was leaching into the natural water sources of California. When the state of California discovered this, they decided to stop importing this gas and told the corporation, we will no longer import this product until you remove the additive. The corporation turned around and sued the state of California under Chapter 11 of NAFTA, and they won. They won. A Canadian corporation against the state of California. Now you tell me what Mexico can do against massive corporations like IBM. If you can go back one more. What you can see here is that there have been 13 billion claimed by corporations in their initial filings, 1.8 billion from US taxpayers that corporations have won under Chapter 11, 294 million from Mexican taxpayers, and 11 billion from Canadian taxpayers. These are nation states that are trying to fight against corporations for doing damage, environmental damage, damage to individuals through labor abuses, and NAFTA and Chapter 11 protects the corporations over the nation states' ability to be able to govern their own countries. So let's track it. We look at Mexico as a case study, and you saw this. You saw, we heard someone already talking about some of what is happening. So 1.4 million rural Mexicans have been displaced by NAFTA, and what exactly is happening? What's happening is that NAFTA allowed agribusiness to begin to move into the southern and central parts of Mexico and begin to take over land. You had farmers that were subsistence farmers. Basically, they were growing enough to feed their families, sell to a local market. These weren't big business. But agribusiness came in. American subsidized companies came in with their corn and were able to lower and lower and lower the prices of their corn to an extent where unsubsidized farmers could not keep up. And so they were quickly lost. The farms were quickly lost. And those farmers, once they could no longer do the work that had been happening for generations, and corn is not just an agricultural product. Corn is a cultural product of Mexico. It is the heart of so much of the Mexican background and history and culture. And to have lost that, to have lost strains of corn that had been cultivated for generations, certain strains of blue corn that were very important to local communities, all of that was lost when you have a small farmer who's out there trying to plow his field and looks over and sees a crane lowering a big sign that says Dole a mile down the road. And there's just no way that he could compete with that. So 1.4 million rural Mexicans are displaced from their central economy, and they begin to move north. Nearly 90% of all the maquiladoras, these are the factories, in Mexico are placed along the US-Mexican border. So what you have is the gradual movement north of people from the agricultural areas of Mexico into the urban areas where they have the factories. And they think that they're going to be able to then find those jobs. We had a similar dynamic here with the Great Migration. And so, after NAFTA, the border population doubled.